All right, our top focus on WION right now. U.S. President Donald Trump has reaffirmed his commitment to tough trade policies and announced reciprocal tariffs from April 2nd on most trading partners. Meanwhile, his Commerce Secretary has said that U.S. President Donald Trump could dial down huge tariffs on Canada and Mexico this week, while maintaining pressure on China. Howard Lutnick's comment came hours after Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau attacked the United States' dumb trade war. Talking to Fox Business, Lutnick said that the likely outcome will be somewhere in the middle, with the president moving with the Canadians and Mexicans, but not all the way. Earlier on Tuesday, Trudeau accused Trump of trying to cause the collapse of Canada's economy to make it easier for the United States to annex his country. He blasted Washington, D.C. for targeting a close ally while appeasing Russia over Ukraine.
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense.
Addressing the U.S. president directly, Trudeau said that while he thinks Trump is a smart guy, the tariffs are a very dumb thing to do.
It's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal. But Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. Canadians are reasonable and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight.
And well, for more on this, we are now being joined by Daniel Bodman from Toronto. He's a senior correspondent for the National Telegraph. Welcome to WION, Mr. Bodman.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we've been seeing the trade war between U.S. and Canada. Trump has announced 25% tariffs on all Canadian imports. And Canada has now said that it will plaster tariffs on over $100 billion of American goods. First up, talk to us about the implications and consequences of this in Canada. And do you think that the hefty tariffs will be short-lived?
I do hope they're short-lived because, I mean, I'm not in the habit of agreeing with Justin Trudeau, as he's not in the habit of agreeing with the Wall Street Journal. But this trade war is dumb. It's and Trudeau should know best, because this is Bernie Sanders' economic philosophy. This is Justin Trudeau's economic philosophy. So who knows better on how to destroy the Canadian economy than Justin Trudeau? So, of course, he intuitively understands how to destroy Canada's economy, and by synthesis, the U.S. economy too. So there are real concerns about the Canadian border, soft insecurity. I mean, Lord knows India has been screaming about extremist elements flaunting Canadian security for decades. And so you have these things, but ultimately, like, our economies are so tied in together. I mean, not just the auto industry, resources going back and forth. It's so incredibly tied in that, you know, yeah, maybe there's parts of like Nebraska, you could say, that are unaffected by Canada, but with, you know, Premier Ford and other provinces actually threatening to go nuclear, I mean, if energy starts getting cut off, and like, both countries are so interconnected, they can destroy each other economically if they choose to. But we choose to try and support each other instead, in general. Now, what Trump could be mad about, and I mean, a lot of people are, is like, are we not trading as efficiently as possible? There some, listen, the tariffs Trump is complaining about are so fringe and minimal. Now, I hate them too. That's mostly on dairy products and the Canadian dairy industry, which we, you know, was one time called the milk mafia in Canadian politics because of their absolute control on the Canadian dairy industry, mostly because they're from Quebec. And if you're in Canada and you complain in French, it's much more efficient than complaining in English. But the dairy industry has such a stranglehold on Canadian politics for no particular reasonable reason. It's just one of those Canadian things. But that seems to be the spark that is given Trump justification that they're putting tariffs on us so we could put tariffs on them. But again, he's not overly specific. If he was just literally, if he had specified these dairy tariffs because he wants like farmers in Wisconsin to be able to sell in Saskatchewan,
Right.
okay, fine. And I'm most Canadians, when you explain to them how our dairy industry works, again, we pay more, we suffer more under our dairy industry than the Americans do, by the way. Okay, we pay hundreds of millions, probably billions of dollars a year to subsidize the dairy farmers to make cheese and milk more expensive on the other end. It's an insane system. But if we're going to turn the entire US Canada economy basically into the Canadian dairy industry, everyone's going to suffer. So you hope that there's some way that we can all sort of pretend everyone won and walk this down. But yeah, I mean,
Right. Right, Mr. Boardman, I was just coming to the point you made there. If Canada and US can perhaps reach a middle ground, because as of now, there is no room for negotiations to stave off the tariff. That's what Trump has said. But do you think that there is still some room for negotiations with, in the latest, the US Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, saying that US might work something out with Canada or Mexico? In your opinion, do you think any 11th hour deal will be chalked out?
yeah, I mean, listen, with Trump, there's always room for negotiation. I mean, the man wrote a book on how to deal with Donald Trump. It's called The Art of the Deal. I'm pretty sure no one in the Canadian federal government has read this thing. They should. This is a man who, again, loves making deals. So can the Canadians figure out how to talk to him? Justin Trudeau, I mean, again, he's not interested in doing that. Instead of the Canadians trying to do anything, our parliament's shut down. We're running an election. So there's a fake election going on for the next prime minister. They're appointing Mark Carney, and then he's going to get into so we're going to have an unelected European, self-described European banker is going to run the country, come out of nowhere. And then he'll get into a coalition with the socialists who are antagonistic to Trump to maintain power, or we'll have to go to another election before dealing with him. So all the Canadian politicians who are Team Canada, and we're all in this for Canada, are all, instead of doing things for Canada, using the political storm and the anti-Trump and the sort of anti-American wave and newfound Canadian nationalism to run on election as an electoral platform to serve their own personal political purposes. So there's no one in the office to make a deal. We haven't had anyone. No one's been home for the last 3 months in the face of this catastrophic emergency. So we're not taking this seriously as a country. We're taking it seriously as a political football. But so who's going to work out this deal? Who's our prime minister? Was our prime minister even elected? We have a temporary prime minister until the 9th, and then we have a fake prime minister, an appointed European banker, who then has to either make a deal with the Donald Trump or with the whack job socialist Khalistani lunatic who's running the Socialist Party. So who's going to make this deal? It can be done if we had a prime minister, if we had a country, if we had a leadership, we could do this. But instead, everyone's just playing games in Canada, and look where it's getting. Looks where it's getting us. So
Right. Right. I also want to talk to you about the statements coming out of Ottawa with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying that Trump is perhaps a smart guy, but this move of tariffs, that is a dumb move. Now, during his the Congress speech, Trump said that the tariffs are being imposed on Canada and Mexico due to illegal immigration and drug trafficking as well. But I want to talk to you about, are there more reasons to it? Because Trudeau has clearly said that Trump is trying to cause the collapse of Canada's economy so that it becomes US's 51st state. How do you see that?
I mean, it could be that. I don't know why they'd want us to go about statehood this way. It's not going to happen that Canada's just going to, again, it's hard to be the cause of a country's destruction like Canada and then just willingly annex the population. That isn't a healthy recipe for long-term stability. So the annexation plan isn't good. If he really wanted to listen, if he wanted to add territory or make a 51st state, he would have made a smart play for Alberta, but he didn't do that. So I'm not of that,
Right.
again, this is not the best way to go about it. And listen, Trump because Trump, okay, here's Trump's problem. Here's the actual only way out of this for Canada in this current scenario. Trump promised a golden age. Trump is promising the American people peace and prosperity, which means you're going to have more money in your pocket and things are going to be cheaper than it was during Joe Biden's era. Is Trump a stronger man than Justin Trudeau? Yes. Is America a stronger economy than Canada? Yes. Do they have more blah 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 per capita? Yes, yes, yes. We're getting into a fight with Canada, but this is a boxing match, and Donald Trump has entered a boxing match with a suicide bomber. Justin Trudeau does not care about the Canadian economy. Mark Carney doesn't care about the Canadian economy. The Liberals have been pushing the exact same nonsense economics Trump just decided to push on Canada like 15 minutes ago. So we've totally been willing to destroy the country for climate change or for global or all these different things because racism or sexism or whatever it is, or again, we fight with India for no particular reason because someone in Parliament. We are totally and the anti-American sentiment. We are totally willing to take America down with us under the Trudeau, Mark Carney, Jagmeet Singh era of Canadian politics. So the threat of, oh, we're going to beat you up so bad, again, you're entering a boxing match with a suicide bomber. Yeah, you're stronger, but we're crazier.
Right, Mr. Bodenman, thank you for joining us in WION and sharing your insights with us.